Eric Wilson for the Sports Arena. Yes, we started a little bit late this evening, and you know why, because John Shear, I'm sure, is chomping at the bit, waiting to see if there will be a game six or not. And the way things are looking, it's possible. That's all I'm going to say. But my man Mike Harris-Canuto, ASU, Forks Up, Sun Devil, Sports Arena, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, special start time tonight because of the NBA Finals. Gentlemen, first and foremost, good evening. Before we get to the NBA, I do want to take a moment, first off, and I want to just say really quick um, to Sue Bird and what she has done with the WNBA. Thank you so much. You truly are one of the greatest. Uh, I'm not going to call you the GOAT because we all have our opinions. You're a conversation that I definitely want to save for another time when the queen of hoop is with us. So I want to go to the NFL really quick, gentlemen. As I can see on Mike's screen, he's got the game going on back there. And John, I'm sure, is just plugging away continually on his phone, catching updates. But let's talk about some guys in the NFL, specifically one that Mike and I still feel is arguably a top wide receiver in the league. DeAndre Hopkins finally got released from Arizona. The question is, where does he land? So, Mike, since he's leaving Phoenix, where is he going?
Yeah, I mean, I know he's taking the visit to New England. I just think look, we've heard this since he decided to take the trip to New England. The comedy of going back with Bill O'Brien, who was fully in charge in Houston, that got rid of him. And look, we've never agreed, Eric, that the Houston ownership has been the best. They probably didn't want to re up again with, at the time, like you could say, the best one of the, if you're not going to say the best top two receiver in the league with what he was doing, even when Deshaun Watson got there as a rookie, but before Deshaun Watson got there. So getting back with Bill O'Brien, when people say, can it work? Yeah, Bill Belichick's still the head coach, as much as I like to, rip on his press conferences and stuff, because it seems like, he's the most miserable person in the world and he's trying to cure something and the press is bugging him, as you guys know. But no, but all seriousness, I mean, can it work? Yes. You put tight ends around, you have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins who, I love it. It's like, oh, maybe he's lost a step. And John and Eric, we talked about this last time we talked about DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe the last time that cat's dropped a pass. Like, dudes around him, dudes not around him. I mean, not around him, yes, you expect it. But I'm just saying, dudes around him, and, not just obviously the iconic play in Arizona here, the Hail Mary against the Bills during COVID. But, I mean, I think New England could be very interesting just because we know what the AFC East is. But, Eric, I was talking to some NFL fans the other day, and my pick – and I don't think he has a visit scheduled there. And if Tennessee lets him out of the building, I mean, we'll see. But my pick would be the Chargers, man. You go with the basketball team over there, the 6'5" or 6'6" Mike Williams, 6'4", 6'5" Keenan Allen. Yes, we know that Austin Eckler isn't happy. He's still under contract. But you know what? I know we're going to get to Dalvin Cook. But, I mean, John, you shake your head. Think about it. Like, what could make Austin Eckler happy? Putting another big receiver around him because, again, it's less beating he's going to take, which leads to him getting more money because less is more. So I think the Chargers would be the most phenomenal spot. As a crazy fanatic, of course, I'm going to say the star, Eric, but I think between the Chargers and the Patriots, those would be my two landing spots. So it's not a Mike answer because he's still got to take visits. I just think the Chargers and Patriots would be phenomenal.
All right, John, then where do you think DeAndre Hopkins winds up?
He's not going to the Chargers. I mean, that's just dumb. They're not. He wants top money, and they're not paying him top money. Like, they already can't pay Austin Eckler, so they're not going to pay him, a 31-year-old receiver with injury problems. That, you know what I mean? That just got cut. Like, he has injury history. You're 31. You're on the wrong side of 30, and he can't. We don't even know if he could separate anymore. Like, you got to be able to separate as a receiver, and when you've had 2 years of injuries, you're 31, and you want top tier money. I just don't think the Chargers are going to do it. I think New England makes sense because you got to do something with Mac Jones. Got to try and get him to his fullest potential. This is the only thing that you can do. It makes sense because, I mean, Bill Belichick's throwing around money. What does it matter now? Like, they they're not, without him, they're not winning anything in the AFC. With him, they're not gonna, but they at least have a shot. Without him, they have
Okay.
no shot in the AFC because it's so loaded. So it's got to be New England. It's the only place that makes sense. I don't think anywhere else really makes sense because he could be the number one. He's gonna be the number one. He's gonna want to, and he's gonna want top money. And how many teams are again, Eric? How many teams are gonna pay top money for a receiver at 31 with injury problems that we don't know if he can separate anymore? If you can't separate, it doesn't matter how good you are.
But John, let me just interject here really quick. Mike said it. Whether he has people on him or he doesn't have people on him. Granted, every pass to DeAndre Hopkins is not going to be the iconic Hail Mary, Kyler Murray to DeAndre in the end zone. We know that. But does he really need that much separation, being that he is in our in?
Yeah, at this age.
Okay, all right. And what I find very interesting, John, is that you did not even go in to say possibly your Miami Dolphins, because I know there was talk.
There's no.
And I was thinking to myself, as much as I did not want to hear John Shear rattle on about how he got DeAndre Hopkins, I would have to say he adds a very nice piece to your already arsenal of weapons for Tua.
I don't think
Okay.
so because Mike, you know how Mike McDaniel is. He's a guy that wants his offense to be nothing but fast. And no offense to DeAndre Hopkins, but again, at 31, a guy that's coming off injury, I don't think he fits in what Mike McDaniel's trying to do. Mike McDaniel's
Okay.
trying to make this nothing but a foot race. That's all he wants in this offense is you have to be able to keep up with track stars. That's why they drafted the running back they drafted. Track stars. It's all track stars. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't fit that. Plus, you're going to take away balls from Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's not going to be happy. You know what I mean? Like I love Tyreek.
But is it about happiness, or is it about being healthy at the right time and not getting gassed out after playing 17 regular season games and then having to go into the postseason? Would you rather, so let me ask you this question, and then I'll give you my opinion, John. Would you rather have Tua and Tyreek? Would you rather have them healthy weeks 13 through 18 and then into the postseason, someplace that Miami hasn't been? Well, okay, they haven't progressed. But I mean, adding a piece like him could sustain your team for the marathon, not the sprint.
I just don't think. Again, I don't think it's a right scheme fit.
Okay.
And also, again, Tyreek Hill's one of those receivers, like an Antonio Brown or anybody like that. That if you're taking targets away from him, which it's going to happen if you get a DeAndre Hopkins, he's not going to be happy. You're not going to do that. Like guys like Justin Jefferson, as much as it's about winning, it's also about they got to get theirs. And if you're taking a piece of that away from him, Hopkins is going to get 80 targets. That's a lot less balls that Tyreek Hill's getting, and I don't believe he's going to be happy.
Okay.
Even if he looks like it.
All right. No, and
you know
and I totally understand that. I just think that for some of your teams, especially Miami and also Dallas, I think it's more about the rings right now, not so much about the stats. I'll be really quick, Mike, and then I'll kick it back to you. Listen, I'm going to eliminate Mike's team and my team from this conversation because Mike and I would just seriously, one of us would have a field day and one of us would be crying in the corner if DeAndre Hopkins was to go to either Philadelphia or Dallas. So let me eliminate those two teams. I heard talk of Buffalo. I've heard talk of Miami. I heard talk of New England. But the one team I think that, in my opinion, I think would benefit him, surprisingly, I think it's Jacksonville. I think if he's down there with Doug Peterson and you've got Trevor Lawrence, who is really starting to come into his own, who are their wide receivers? DeAndre Hopkins could be a leader in that locker room because this is a team in a division that is truly winnable in the AFC South. I think you pair DeAndre with Trevor Lawrence, coached by Doug Peterson. I think that'd be a nice landing spot for him. Plus, we know Jacksonville got a little bit of money to spend. They may not have a lot, but they might be able to figure out a way to bring him in, let's say on a 2-year deal, but give Jacksonville that little bit of push, that little bit of momentum to maybe not only win the division, but, be a team that we are going to pay attention to for the next maybe 2 seasons as long as he's there. That's how I feel about that one. Go ahead, Mike. I'll let you close this out.
Well, Eric, and I mean, and John, it goes back to, it almost goes with like Miami. I see what Eric's saying to you there because it goes back to your and mine little debate last year about about Tony Pollard and Zeke. Now, yeah, can you say Zeke lost a step, only 27 years old? I wasn't in that camp, but less is more for both. Like the Cowboys getting to the playoffs. I mean, that first game against Tampa, yes, Tampa's not the Niners defense. We knew that. But at the same time, like Zeke still looked like he had that pop in the step. Even going into the Niners game, the defense is cluttering on him, but it wasn't like slow to get up. I need more breaks. Less is more. So I get what you're saying about taking targets away, but Jalen Waddle does that too. And now you have another guy that's actually going to open up downfield for them because, look, DeAndre Hopkins isn't slow. When we're talking about, and I said losing a step before, you guys both know when I'm talking about losing a step in the NFL, a guy's going from what, like a 4.4 to a barely, a 4.5, like still obviously very quick. But again, per game speed and stuff like that is different. So I think less could be more there because Tyreek, I think, will still obviously have a huge year. But DeAndre Hopkins, to Eric's point, going underneath. Eric, to your point on Jacksonville, yeah, he already knows Christian Kirk. He was here in Arizona with him. Everybody complained about the money. And yeah, maybe Jacksonville did overpay for him. But you look at what Christian Kirk did last year, and I didn't realize you were going to say that. But numbers-wise, and I mean, you guys know I said it all season long, he kept producing for Trevor Lawrence. Like, it wasn't just, throw Christian Kirk the deep ball, and he's a one-trick pony. That's all he's doing. I mean, he's going underneath. Yes, did it help that they had a little bit more of a running game? Absolutely. Did it help that with your guy, Doug Peterson, that, yes, they're working their tight ends in, they're working the ball, they're able to run the ball, which was huge. But yeah, you put DeAndre Hopkins there. I mean, it is a great pick. That's why I'm saying if Tennessee lets him leave the building. But guys, I mean, John, you talked about it, the money. The one problem is
he did leave the building without a contract offer.
Right. But the one part with the money is, yes, teams do have cap space, but the Cardinals needed to release him before the draft in March because that, again, and I get you're trying to trade him because, of course, if you're the Cardinals, why not try and get something, whether it's, draft picks or anything, to overstate the obvious for everybody. But what he can still do on the field, and there was a lame report, and Eric, I'm glad you brought this up. I wasn't going to bring it up. There's a lame report that came out of here today saying, we don't know if it'll work in New England because DeAndre Hopkins, out of Arizona doesn't like to practice. Well, I'm not saying it came from the Cardinals building. I don't have any source on that one, as you know, but like to practice. I mean, yeah, by the end of the season, name an NFL player, a baseball player, a basketball player that quote unquote likes to practice. Yeah, you want to win a championship, and I'm not saying you're not putting in the work, but come on, man. Like, it's just to get him. I mean, Buffalo, again, money-wise, and I will wrap on this, Eric. Money-wise, that's the problem. Is like he knows he's worth more than Odell. Look, I love Odell. I'm just saying, but what Odell got, the Ravens resetting the market, it's like you're still getting a chunk from the Cardinals because of the guaranteed money that they still owe to him. But like, teams can't give you that right now. So yeah, if the Ravens overpaid for Odell, just imagine. Look, I'm not saying he's not going to be good, but they're kicking themselves because DeAndre gets released, and you could have had him for not trading anything. So it comes down to
right
that.
About that.
Jacksonville's a great fit, Eric. I agree with you on that one too.
Odell didn't reset the market. Odell got that money because the Ravens had to pay that to keep Lamar happy. To keep Lamar in Baltimore, they had to overpay for Odell. And Odell's camp knew that. So that's why they were able to drive up the price because that was the only way you were
They still overpaid.
Right, but they had to. It wasn't because.
But yeah, that was a forced hand thing. I very rarely do John and I side and look exactly like and the same. But in order to keep their star quarterback, the franchise guy, the guy who was supposed to be there, they
wasn't
had
signed
to,
yet.
Right, but they had to reset it in order to show Lamar, yes, we're committed to you. All right, let's quickly switch over to Dalvin Cook, because this is a guy who, when he was getting drafted and he fell to Philadelphia and Philadelphia passed on him, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And I still, Minnesota Vikings, you still owe me an edible arrangement for Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. You're welcome. But now you got Dalvin Cook is gone at the age of 27. So the question is, where do you place a 27-year-old running back who still has got a little bit of tread left? I mean, granted, he's had his issues. He's got some. So, John, where do you think Dalvin Cook winds up?
I mean, it's just, to me, I'm with Mike on this. I think it's stupid that anybody is like, yeah, he fell off. He's not the guy he once was. Dalvin Cook's still really good. I understand that Dalvin Cook has injury problems, and you can expect it, kind of like Chris Paul, where he's gonna get hurt at some point. But when Dalvin Cook is right, he's easily a top 5 running back, easily top 3 running back. Like he's that good. He can not only run the ball and run it with power, but he can run it with speed, and also he can catch the ball pretty darn good too. And he was in an offense where he wasn't even the star. It was Justin Jefferson got the ball, and still he was able to produce. People are, I think people that say, well, Alexander Madison will be fine. He'll take over. No, no. The Vikings are going to miss a lot in Dalvin Cook. Madison's not going to be able to do what Cook did. Cook is special to me. I like to say Miami because I think that would be a great fit for what Miami's doing, and that's not homer-wise. I think that would be a really good fit
But
speed-wise.
is he a track star, John? You just talked about
Yeah,
track
yeah,
stars.
he's a guy that with that zone blocking scheme, which
Okay.
Miami likes to run,
All right.
That's what they did in Minnesota. That would be a perfect fit for him because we saw he can bounce it outside in that zone blocking, zone running scheme, and he can bounce it outside and he can hit a home run. And he can also run for power and he can catch the ball. So he fits what Miami would want to do, but I don't think he fits cap wise. He wants a lot of money. He doesn't want the $5 million deal, which I think Miami would want to get him on. He wants to be paid like a top back, and I don't knock him for that. I think if Buffalo has the money, then Buffalo has to go get him and make the AFC theirs. I don't want that, but that is the perfect landing spot for Dalvin Cook with his brother James Cook in Buffalo, being the bell cow back. That's exactly what Buffalo is missing: is a real running back. No offense to any of the guys that they've had or they have, but if you get Dalvin Cook and you can pay him $9-10 million, you can give him that. You're willing to do that. Immediately, Buffalo probably jumps to the top of the AFC, right? Because that's what they've been missing for a long time. Is hey, we all know Josh Allen is going to force the ball, and he's going to throw the ball a lot, and he's going to be the running back. But as we've seen, Josh Allen cannot be your entire offense, not because of his talent, but because we've seen he's prone to these mistakes, and he also gets himself banged up. And so if you can get Dalvin Cook to take some of the hits off of him, take some of the touches off of Josh Allen, relieve some of the pressure off of him, so he doesn't have to do it all, I think you'll see a much better Josh Allen in 2023.
I'm shaking my head and I'm looking at what's in my drink because I feel like John and I are drinking from the same bottle tonight. Like this is scary for me. Let me just say this. John and I, ladies and gentlemen, y'all know, John and I will continually find ways to not agree with each other. But tonight, with DeAndre Hopkins and also now Dalvin Cook, that was my only pick.
Football. I mean, you and I mean, basketball.
Well, we do, but it's a little eerie, John,
Yeah.
that tonight of all nights we are having this conversation. Number one on the No Filter Network, but number two, you and I are agreeing. So I'm just gonna say I echo the same sentiment of John Shear. I think Buffalo is the ideal landing spot for Dalvin Cook, a young man who was used to playing in the cold. Granted, he was indoors. Now he'll be outdoors, but at 27, doing what he can do is going to take some of the weight off of Josh Allen and allow Dalvin Cook to get his touches, like we were talking about with, DeAndre Hopkins, making sure he got his. If Buffalo, I'll tell you this much right now. If Buffalo signs Dalvin Cook, I will say to you this year what I said last year. Buffalo will be my AFC representative in Las Vegas. I'm just going to put it out there right now. If Dalvin Cook goes to Buffalo, Buffalo is my pick to be the AFC representative in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl. So, Mike, I'll kick it to you.
It protects Josh Allen from himself. And that's not a knock, but again,
it's what's needed.
Protects him.
Well, and it would have benefited, and John, to your point there too, and Eric, like it would have benefited Devin Singletary next year. But if they do land Dalvin Cook, this puts Naheem Hines in the slot all over in the backfield with Cook. You can mix it up. We obviously know what they have on the outside with Diggs, Gabe Davis. You re-sign Knox. They got the young tight end out of my guy out of Oregon State. I mean, it's just, and when you go to teams like that, I mean, it's less is, like I say, I mean, I'm a broken record, Eric, but you know, in football, less is more. I mean, when you're looking at, and you're talking about, you know, Dalvin Cook's numbers. I mean, John, you say bell cow. I mean, the last 4 seasons over 1,000 yards. When Eric, you sent this out, I mean, 1135 and 13 touchdowns in 2019, and 1557 and 16 touchdowns in 2020, and then 1159, 6 touchdowns, 1173 and 8 touchdowns at 27 years old. And you know, look, the dialogue comes out about running backs this, late that. Eric, your boy, and I always go back, and it's not the KISS theory for me, Eric. Keep it simple, stupid. Saquon Barkley was the best player in that draft. The Giants were perfectly right in hitting him at number 2. And if the Giants had the number 1 pick, I would have taken him. They probably would have taken him number 1. He was the best player in that draft. You look at Dalvin Cook. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because him and Justin Jefferson ended up being teammates in Minnesota, and they could have been in Philly. Yes, I did have to throw that dig in there since you started it. But I think Buffalo, I mean, look, you have a guy like Hines that, yes, is that, you know, slot. He can obviously play in the slot. He's a nightmare mismatch, as we all know. And now you put a guy like Dalvin Cook. And you know what? To me, the one thing I won't put him in Saquon Barkley's category is because, John, you're right. I mean, he still is a home run hitter. We saw that big run when they came back they had to come back against the Colts being down by 5,000 points, whatever it was. And I mean, he's just knocking off big run after big run. And then he takes it, you know, all the way down inside the 5, going like 70, 72, 73 yards, whatever it was. Like, he's that guy that can do that. So yes, I mean, I know that picture, you know, of course, the passive aggressive picture he showed himself celebrating in Hard Rock Stadium. If he ends up in Miami, you're right. I mean, I'm with Eric. It catapults Buffalo. Again, Buffalo's in that top 3-4 discussion in the AFC, and they've earned it, and they can do it. But if they put Dalvin Cook in that backfield, yes, if Miami puts Dalvin Cook in their backfield with those receivers, then yeah, obviously you're not going to get DeAndre Hopkins too. But I'm saying you put one of those 2 guys, it still catapults you right there. And as we know, going into his health. But yeah, Eric, man, if Dalvin Cook does end up in Buffalo, because that defense ain't getting any worse. And they got some young guys coming back there. Obviously, they locked up Milano after last season, going into this past season. So look, and I know they're talking with they're keeping Ed Oliver happy too. I know they're in contract discussions with him. So yes, I know the questions about the offense, but Dalvin Cook and Buffalo, the fact that we all 3 agree, man, I'm glad I brought. You know what? The funny thing is, I never really do buy them, but I bought some scratchers and a lottery tickets today, so maybe they'll be lucky, guys, because we're all 3 just in damn agreement. Which is really scary.
Yeah, this is insane. All right, we got about less than pretty much a little over a minute left in this game 5, and it is a 1-point game by what I can see right now. So, Mike, I'm going to give you a minute while this game closes itself out because I do want to stay in a little bit of time. But I know you want to talk the Stanley Cup Finals, so I'm going to give you your time right now to have this conversation because once you're done, we're going to the NBA Finals. Game 5 between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. So, Mike, I'm going to give you the floor with the Stanley Cup.
Well, everybody knows, obviously, how much I love hockey. But, I mean, and I talked about the Stanley Cup playoffs in our Who Knew I Knew a few weeks ago, the overtime games. John and I are like, you know, 7-year-olds the first time we walk into a candy store and they just give you free samples of everything. Like, that's what the Stanley Cup playoffs are to me. But I look at it from Vegas' standpoint, man. This is a team that's been around 6 years, as we know. And John and I have had this conversation before, but in 6 years, they are 267, 147, and 41 overall. This is their second Stanley Cup Finals appearance. Their first season, they win the West at 500-1 odds if you would have got them in the beginning of the season. And Eric knows this, John. I always say this because one of my good friends, John, who happened to be in Vegas, I'm like, I'll split the $100 bet with you. Put it on Vegas to win the West. Did he put it on Vegas to win the West? No, he didn't. Who won the West that year? Oh, that's right, Vegas. So, yeah, anytime I can take a shot at him, I'd take a shot because he bets on everything but didn't do that. That being said, their playoff record is 53-34 up to date with what they are, 1 game away from the Stanley Cup Finals. The first year, and Eric, you've heard me say this, they were the land of misfit toys, a bunch of pissed off guys. And yeah, you can't protect everybody. Everybody understands the expansion draft. But some of the guys that weren't protected said, okay, we're going to come out like total gangbusters. And it was literally a 10-2 start for them that year. Fast forward in 6 years, though, they've only not qualified for the playoffs. And that was once, and that was last year. They have 7 guys, 7 that are back, that are 7 guys that are left from the original first-year team that are back in the playoffs or in the Stanley Cup Finals. Look, I did want Florida to win because I'm obviously a Kachuk guy. All the years he spent out here, Keith Kachuk in Arizona, his kid has definitely got his dad's vinegar, John, as I would say, because he can get under your skin. But he's also not just a guy that's beating people up; he's scoring goals. And I mean, Eric, you're in the state of Florida, so I mean, the excitement again with the Heat, and again, not taking a shot at them, but the Heat, the Panthers, it's just madness. But
Eric, because it goes by where you're at in Florida, because South Florida is. You know what I mean? Like where you're at's not going to be happy for South Florida.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, but John, my theory is like it's still bragging rights for fans. So I mean, yes. I mean, Tampa had their run. It's not like they're going to say, "Oh yeah, if Florida had the run and they were on the run," I'm with you on that. With Tampa not wanting to
like Pennsylvania,
support that.
The Steeler fans aren't going to be happy for Eagle fans.
Well, I mean, nobody's happy for Eagles fans except for Eagles fans. But anyway, thanks for that, John. But back to Vegas. Like this is just the most insane 6-year run, and outside of the original 6 in expansion. This is the team to have the most success in a 6-year span. Like if you go modern day sports, you want to start from like say 1950 on. I was just looking stuff up. 1950 on, leagues expanding, stuff like that. Like this is the best success of a team and the way they play. And I mean, again, it's 3-1. They're up. They still have to get the toughest game, the closeout game, as we all know. But Eric, man, like this year's Stanley Cup Finals, except for Jersey losing to that crap Carolina team, Eric. I mean, you may have heard about that crap team. But anyway, but yeah, except for that, it's just phenomenal. But like I had to shout out Vegas because a lot of people, get mad and they say, oh, they shouldn't have that much success. And I know they changed. I'm not going to get crazy into rules. People can look it up if they want to know. But like with the Kraken, they went to the playoffs here in their second year, but they changed like the protection thing. And so not that you can protect more, but like who they can the protection stuff. So the Kraken weren't going to come out and win the West their first year. I mean, they pretty much kind of loaded up on that. But if you can't get excited for playoff hockey, seriously, like I don't care what your favorite sport is, you have no pulse because it is.
Listen,
you've seen the celebration.
I do. I agree with you. Playoff hockey is something. I mean, listen, regular season hockey, even though it just goes, it coincides with the NBA. So it's like you've got hockey one night, NBA the next night. I mean, it's an awesome time to watch, be a sports fan. But yeah, when you get to playoff hockey, it's on that different level. And I mean, with that, we got 14 seconds left, and it looks to be that we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, down by 3. Mike, you've got it. So, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to watch your screen.
Yeah, it's 92-89. Yeah, that's why I unblurred it because before I realized you couldn't see it. But yeah, it's 92-89, and the Heat
94.
Well, yeah, they're at the Browns at the free throw. Yeah, so obviously I'm a little bit behind, but yeah, he just hit the first free throw. So if he hits the second, 94-89 with 14.3 left, and man, as much as I want to like just pound on John because he did bring up obviously great points about his team. I know we talked about it last week with like Jimmy Butler, but it's funny because every conversation, and this is what I was saying to Ray last week too, is every conversation is Jimmy Butler has to do this, Jimmy Butler has to do that. Now when you ask the superstar question, Eric, like fair enough, and we were talking about, or when Ray asked the superstar question, but Jimmy Butler is say, okay, Denver is loaded. I don't think it's going to be like Miami didn't have enough. Yes, guys were injured. Guys came back. I know they were talking about Jimmy and John, you know this, and I'm not going to use it as like the lame, as I call it, the Tom Brady excuse after the Giants punched him in the mouth here in that first Super Bowl. Like we know his ankle's sore. We know it's tough. There was some report, and I saw one report saying, the Heat haven't said anything. Jimmy's not going to say anything. That's not their style, but they think that knee's starting to bother him too because they're overcompensating a little bit for. No, I'm not saying it's an excuse. Denver's a good team, but it's all about Jimmy Butler, and as it should be. I mean, again, you're going up against.
Is it though? Hold on. Is it though? Because I have to kind of, and I'm not backtracking here. What I'm doing is I'm recognizing as this playoff series, the NBA Finals continued on. For me, and this is just me, John, the emergence of Bam and the significance and the importance of him in this series. I think I guess I was just all about Jimmy Butler and I didn't pay attention. And I'm willing to admit that. because I knew what Jimmy had to be. I knew who Jimmy was. I knew he was that dog. I knew he was that leader. And so yes, I put the emphasis on him. I put the expectation on him. Dare I say, I put the assumption on him to be the guy to lead this team, Miami, to another championship. But I will say, John, and I will admit this to you here live tonight on the No Filter Network Sports Arena show, Bam Adebayo did show me something. He showed me that no matter what, he was going to be that guy. Whether you loved him, liked him, hated him, you had to respect him. And so I have to take a step back and say I should have listened to you, John. I was a little misguided because my expectation was I was going to see Jimmy and I was going to see the Joker, and let's see who was going to be the better man.
And that's okay because, much like the rest of the world that doesn't follow the Heat, they just assumed the only player that the Miami Heat have, the only player that the Nuggets has, is Joker and Jimmy Butler for the Heat. But that's just not true. That's why when this finals came about and people were like, well, the ratings are going to be terrible. Like, no, true basketball fans know that there's a lot of really good players on both sides of the ball. Bam is a top 5 defender. He's a guy that should have won defensive. He should have a defensive player of the year. He's an elite defender. His offensive game hasn't caught up to his defense yet, but he's a really good passer. He's an elite defender, and if he can get his offense eventually figured out, he'll be an elite player. So, but people just, unless you watch the Heat, you only think Jimmy Butler. But Bam is a terrific player. He's terrific on Team USA. Like, they have a lot of really good players. Their problem is, and I've thought this all along, is they got to put Bam at the 4 and get a guy at the 5. Because I love Bam, but he's sized for the 4 spot. Now, Bam can guard all 5 spots. And it don't matter what your size is. He's going to try and guard you. But size-wise, I like him at the 4. And I'd prefer that because then I think you would see a better offensive game as opposed to going up against the Joker-sized people, the Shaq-sized people. I mean, Bam just isn't that size. He's the size of a 4, not the size of a 5. So if the Heat went and got a true center, that way Bam could slide to the 4, then I think you would see more scoring from Bam. That's just how I feel. And then I think a lot of these guys are going to hit free agency and they're going to get paid. And you're going to see a new-look Heat team going into next year because a lot of these guys are going to go and get their bag, rightfully so.
All right, really quick, let me just say, and as we sit here and I'm watching on Mike's TV, congratulations to the Denver Nuggets on winning the NBA Finals and winning their NBA championship. To Joker, to Murray, to Aaron Gordon, to Michael Porter Jr., Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, to that entire team, and of course, their head coach. Congratulations on winning the championship.
And old man, hey, you forgot old man DeAndre Jordan. He gets a ring.
He was on the bench.
Oh, he came in tonight though.
Oh, he did?
He played a few minutes. John, about Bam though, was it the bubble or was it the year before where he had like to me still the block of the all-time block of the playoffs that I've seen against the Celtics? Was that in the bubble or was that the year before?
I think that was the bubble.
The bubble, right. So with Bam, what you're saying about Bam and Eric, like, but my point is about Jimmy is that even saying, like, yes, you expect it from Bam all year because he definitely, I mean, he was working hard there, but when he had that block, he was known for his defense. But, like, it's been like, oh, Bam, when you talk about the Heat, when Jimmy Butler out there, the next word out of people's mouths that were Heat fans just looking to break down the Heat, talking about Bam Adebayo, what he can do, and like John's saying, his defensive flexibility. My point to Jimmy Butler, though, like we were talking about, is he's the leader of that locker room. He is the leader of the team. He is the team guy. I know I always saying just like if they better be hearing Jimmy, not just listen to Jimmy, because that's how Jimmy is. But John knows, like, that's their team. When you talk about that, like, those guys are gonna reflect his attitude and his work. And I do think Jimmy obviously puts it in. You go from an 8 seed to getting to the NBA Finals. And yes, in basketball, I know we talk about it has happened. This is the 3rd time it's happened, or didn't Ray say something like that? But either way, so like
I think it was the 3rd time. Yeah.
So like an 8 seed, like it's not, and I know we're just talking about hockey, but it's not hockey because people say, oh, well, you just got to get a hot goaltender. Yeah, a hot goaltender helps, but you still got to put the puck in the net. But I mean, you've seen more lower seeds because like we talked about, okay, the Heat started to get injuries in the playoffs, teams get injured, guys, they're fighting to get into the playoffs, but Jimmy Butler, my point to that is like the heart of that locker room. He is their undisputed leader. Guys are going to follow him. And I'm just saying, from everything I've seen, granted, I'm not there in Miami. It would be awesome to be there in Miami, but he's that key. But what Bam means to the team, like you're going to keep those two together. You have a young core. I mean, you stay healthy. I mean, it's a team in the East next year that, coming into the season. And yes, obviously it just wrapped up. We got to see what teams do. Free agency, John, like you said, I mean, guys, some role guys are probably going to move around, but you have Jimmy back, you have Bam back. Like I mean, Tyler Hero getting injured. Yeah. Do I think that probably cost them one more game in a victory to force this to 6? I do. But I'm just saying, I still think Denver was the better team. But with what Jimmy Butler does, I mean, it's Jimmy. And like when I listened to when we were talking last week, Eric, just wrapping it up, listen to the national radio, listen to that. Yeah, people say, oh, well, and Ray's right. There were people say, well, Jimmy didn't have a lot around him. Look where he took him, in the bubble when you went to the championship there. Or, oh, then they go out in the first round. Oh, well, they were banged up. But it's not saying that. But when people look at Jimmy Butler, they're saying, yeah, you've put this out there. You've played like this. You've balled out. Like, they're going to be a threat as long as he's there. And obviously, when we're talking about Bam, I mean, you have a very solid nucleus right there.
But they still, again, they got to go and get one more player. Again, I think they got to get a 5, a legit 5. They don't got to get an elite 5, but they got to get somebody down on the 5. So, again, Bam can slide to 4, and Bam can it can fit his skill set a lot better covering the 4 than the 5. And on offense, playing the 4, players that are his size as opposed to playing.
Yeah, but John, when a lot of teams go small, to Ray's point with wings, but when a lot of teams go small, sorry, I just thought of that. Like, I agree with you. Like, I think he defensively, yes, is much more suited at the 4, but a lot of teams don't have like that big 5. Yes, you're talking Anthony Davis. Yes, we're just talking the Joker. But you look at a guy like, and not just because here in Phoenix, but I've said it, he needs to stop being soft, but like DeAndre Ayton, like Bam, it just depends on matchups. Bam can match up against dudes. Yes. Do you want him matching up against Joker and Anthony Davis if they're going one-on-one? No, I'm with you on that. But I'm just saying, if you're going wings, and I know, and Eric, I've always said this to you. I once that vocabulary started coming in, I can't believe I'm calling somebody like 6'5" or 6'7" small, going small at 6'7", but still like it's 6'5", 6'6", like. There's matchups there, and his athleticism can take it through it. But yes, when you run into buzzsaws like an Anthony Davis, like a Joker that you have, and even defensively, like somebody like Draymond Green, who's going to be physical and can move them around. Yes, I'm with you on that. But for like 85 to 90% of the matchups, I just think that like he can be the quote unquote 5. But in those other things, those other matchups you talked about, situations, yeah, you need that 5, so you kick him more out to the wing because his offense, even tonight, saw it the series, but even tonight, start out on the wing, get the drives, get some hoops. So I'm with you on that. But
let me give John the final piece on this because I do want to come back to your Miami, but I do want to take a moment to celebrate what Denver has done. So, John, I want to give you the final piece on this one, but then we're going to come back to Miami.
Yeah, I guess my final piece is I'm curious what both of these teams' outlooks are next season. I mean, I guess that doesn't really coincide with this finals because that's looking ahead to next season. But I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Hopefully, we can have that conversation tonight. What you guys think? Denver is going forward. Do they have a chance at a dynasty? Can Miami?
Everybody. Okay, so
I'm just asking.
No, and I know, but everybody after they win one, they're like, okay, can we? I am not a fan of that word. Like I said, Vince Young ruined that word for me. Okay, so that's why.
What you guys' thoughts are, and I would like.
So here's what I feel about Denver, and again, congratulations to them. Congratulations to Jokic. I mean, 28, 16, and 4. Michael Porter Jr. 16 and 13. I mean, Jamal Murray 14 and 8. These guys coming out and playing And they were the best team pretty much the entire season. And even though they may have had hiccups, if you will, throughout, they finished the number one seed. They did what they were supposed to do. When you are able to basically control how the playoffs go and prepare yourself for the finals, because think about it like that. Denver had plenty of time to rest after the second round as they waited for the winner between Miami and Boston, which went to 7 games, to prepare themselves for the finals. Now, some people would say, when you have that much time off, even though it really wasn't that large amount of time, sometimes the muscle memory, it takes a game or two to get back. And it did not seem that way. With regard to Denver winning this championship, and now Jokic, a two-time back-to-back MVP. There are those who are going to say, well, he should have won it this year. And I still go back to what Ray said, the sports reporter without pay. If you wasn't happy about him winning it, or about Embiid winning it, that's fine. But don't go changing how you feel now because of the performance that he put on in the postseason. It is a regular season award. With regard to Denver, though, I feel like, listen, I'll take the postseason, the offseason and the draft and all that. I'll put that aside for now and say this group has really shown that they can put it together. And it starts at the top with their head coach all the way down. Of course, we anticipate them to try to keep the nucleus together and, of course, run it back. I saw today there was a comparison, Jokic and Murray versus Kobe and Shaq, and I'm like, let's not even start that. I don't even want to go down that road.
Well, Eric, I saw that too, but real quick, they were doing that because Jokic, they're both locked up, I think, for another 3 to 4 years together. They're already locked up. So, but I'm with you on that comparison.
And I get that, but at the same time, you won one championship. Okay, let's pump the brakes here. Congratulations. You won. Very happy for you. But now the question becomes, you are no longer the hunter. You are now the hunted. Because every team from Golden State to Los Angeles to, we don't know what's going to happen with John Moran in Memphis. So many teams out in the West are going to put themselves now in a better position because they're like, oh, we get to face the champs. Let's let the champs know you might be a one and done. You might be a one-hit wonder. Congratulations on your little victory, but now we coming for that ass. You know what I'm saying? And especially those teams in the East, a la Miami, Boston, and Philadelphia. And then, of course, I got to throw Milwaukee in there because of Giannis, even though they don't have Budenholzer anymore. But it could be. It could not be. But Denver right now, I appreciate and I will celebrate this moment because you won. Congratulations. But please believe that you only have a short amount of time to prepare yourself for next season. It is June 12th. The new season of the NBA is going to start. Preseason always starts in October. So what do you have? July, August. You have 3 months. Whereas other teams have had additional time because they didn't make it to prepare themselves. That's why, this whole dynasty or back-to-back thing gets to be so much more difficult because you don't have the same amount of time as everybody else does.
Right.
Why? Because you played longer. Go ahead.
No, Eric, I will say this. I was laughing when you said Ja because, and again, not the personal issues he's having. And yeah, we'll hear Adam Silver. I think they handled that right. They're waiting until after the finals because whoever won, they obviously, or whoever were playing, they don't want to take the shine off. But you think next year he's going to say we're good in the West? That's what I was laughing about. Oh, we good in the West. We good in the West.
that is a great question.
So that's John,
and John, and I got to ask you, as a fan, as a man who does not deviate from his teams, I have to ask you at this moment right now, John Shear, how are you feeling? We are just minutes from the Denver Nuggets being crowned champions over your Miami Heat. How are you feeling?
I feel like there were so many missed shots that were not Heat-like. Open threes in this series that really they could have changed the course of the series. Game 1, I keep going back to that. They miss so many wide open shots that are not. It's not like them to miss wide open threes. It wasn't like they were contested. It was just wide open shots that they just weren't knocking down. That they were knocking down all postseason. You know what I mean? So if you knock those shots down, if you can get game one by knocking down the shots that you normally knock down this entire postseason, I think it's a different series if you can get game one because game one sets the tone. But they didn't do that, and they had to split the series. And they just, I also think that they ran out of gas at some point. I don't know when, but I felt like they ran out of gas. Like you were just talking about when these guys play extra games, because LeBron James or somebody talked or Kobe Bryant, somebody talked about all the playoff runs that they had a couple years ago. Had mentioned the playoff runs that they had in their career, and they talked about how all those extra games and all those extra playoff series they wear down your body. And you don't get that time, like you said, Eric. You made a great point. When you're off at the end of April, middle April, and you're not making the playoffs, your body's resting. When you're playing all the way through to middle of June, your body's not resting, and so those other players are going to be fresher than you heading into the season. You know what I mean? Like I get it. You have a couple months to recover, but at the same time, like it was kind of like the Heat and the Lakers. Like they never really recovered after they went to the championship against each other in 2020. I felt like they never really recovered from that, and neither team was themselves the next year. So um, I'm I'm optimistic about the Heat again. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They were in the NBA Finals 2020. They were in the NBA Finals this year. Like they've got the core, and again, they just need one piece, and they need to stay healthy. They need one more piece, whether it be the five or a true point guard. Um, I think they're one piece away from really being able to offensively be elite. Because defensively, they were the best team in the league. Scoring wise, they were the best team in the league heading into the postseason. So I'm not upset because I know that the Heat are right there and they're going to be right there again, just like they were last year. Game 7, Eastern Conference Finals. They're in the championship this year. So I'm not upset and I'm not worried because I know that we'll be back. We've got the core, we've got the nucleus. We're not the Philadelphia 76ers. We're not shambles. We'll be back.
All
We're
right.
not
So I
the
just
Hey,
want
you
to
Bulls.
say
gotta
this
go
to
to
you.
Eric.
No, that's fine. I just want to say this to you, John. From now until the start of next season, it's 134 days, my friend. That is the amount of time that both the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat have to get themselves prepared for the start of next season. Go ahead,
But
Mike.
Eric, you know what John's saying that there, and we can be the quote unquote, your former Philly guy / Phoenix guy, Charles Barkley, the curmudgeon on the lawn, saying, "Oh, the teams that go deep." Man, the Bulls had 2 3-peats. The Knicks and them used to have insane battles in the Eastern Conference Finals, right? You remember that? That was the heyday
Yes,
of our youth. Yet
exactly.
they were playing the games, and the Bulls had 2 different 3-peats, man. So yeah, I mean, those extra games and the whining and this and that. Hey, man, look, I'm not saying these guys aren't more, like Ray talked about it. You guys overall are better shooters, John. Okay, some, not all, obviously, but hey, man, they were playing 75 to 80 games, 82 games, and 2 3-peats, and was it more physical? We all know that. Everybody can say this and that. Yeah, they wanted the game to open up more. Fine, everybody can understand that. But was it more physical? Were you getting crushed? So you just made all those Bulls and Jordan fans and Knicks fans and Sixers fans and Pistons fans, you just made them very happy, John. That's all I'm going to say, because the Bulls had 2 3-peats, Eric, and your Knicks, they were great battles. You and I talked about that throughout the years. They were phenomenal battles. Yeah, it didn't work out for the Knicks. It didn't work out for a lot of teams because of how Jordan was, and yes, what they put around him to that point. But yeah, I mean, playing 80 games and 2 3-peats in a row. I mean, yeah, you're tired, but I'm just saying, hey, it can be done. So you just made everybody happy, John. Look at this. You're agreeing with Eric. You're showing you're growing. You're smart because you're agreeing with Eric, and now you just made everybody else happy. Man, this is a weird night, Eric.
I'm telling you. So let me ask this question, because Ray had posted it in the chat. And I kind of wish he was here, but I understand. Is Nikola Jokic the best European player ever to play in the NBA?
I don't think so.
I mean, to this point, I say, and it's not like an on the fence answer. My opinion is it's incomplete, Eric, because I mean, you look what like a guy like, who maybe wasn't like he was a good scorer, but I mean, his rebounding, his defense, a guy like Sabonis, what Dirk Nowitzki did. I mean, offensively, yes. Could Dirk play spot defense when he needed to down low? We saw it. Yes, he could. But that little one-legged jumper that so many big men like try to copy, I mean, Dirk made it. It was an unnatural move. And Eric, I think you and I talked about this a while back. It was an unnatural move that looked so natural, and it's like the sky hook. It was the jump shots version of the sky hook, and you couldn't block it. But I mean, look, a guy that is the first that has all these firsts that, I mean, averaged 30.2 points. They were just showing in the finals. Oh, and by the way, Eric, this is not a worthless stat. The lowest drafted player ever to win a finals MVP is Jokic right this year. So, I mean, look, is he going down that road? Yes. If he retired like we were talking about last week, would he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Yeah, he would definitely do that. But I think like when you take total game, and if you're talking about both ends of the court, like, I mean, look, Sabonis was a much better defender, and I'm not saying he's fouling people, was a better defender. Jokic is a better shooter, scorer, and passer. So, like, I mean, he's headed to that road. To me, he's headed down that road. So when Ray said that, yeah, it's a fair question, but you win a finals MVP and you got 2 MVPs, and just say, to our point, say they do get back there next year to the finals, win or lose. If they repeat, obviously, but even if they lose and you get back to the finals, you look at this, what it would be then a 5-year stretch. I don't think there's many big men that can sit there and put themselves in that out, maybe outside of Shaq and, Akeem overall, offensively, defensively. So that, to me, I mean, he's headed down that road, but it's still incomplete. Like you say, you and I say, let's not overreact, but the proof is in the pudding, and what he's done the last 3 years, like with the 2 MVPs and the playoff runs and carrying the team when Murray and everybody else was injured, and even the 2 years before that, like he's on the right track.
Okay, John, how do you feel?
I think it's disingenuous to all the great European players that we've seen in this game to ask that question, because I mean, as great as Jokic has been in his career, he's not Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan's from Europe, right? He's not Tim Duncan. You still got Giannis out there, right? So you have a lot of great European players. Luka's a fantastic player. Just because he hasn't won the MVPs or won a championship yet, Luka's a hell of a player. Tony Parker was a hell of a player. Manu was a hell of a player. Like, when it comes to these European players, there's so many great European players. Dirk, like you guys said, Dirk. I think it's disingenuous to just say, well, yeah, it's Jokic, or, you know what I mean? Like, with all the great European players out there, I would probably say Tim Duncan is the best European player we've ever seen.
Tim Duncan is not from Europe.
Yeah, he's from France, isn't he?
No, Tony Parker is from France. Duncan's from the Bahamas.
I thought he was from France.
No, Tony Parker's from France.
Okay, I thought he was from France. But,
no, right.
But, yeah, so you got a lot of great European players out there. I don't think Mike's right about that. You can go ahead and look it up. But, yeah, there's so many great European players out there. I don't think Jokic is the greatest yet. His career is not done. It's not close to being done. I like to wait until careers are done. It's like saying Mahomes is one of the greatest of all time. Like, no, not yet. I want to wait until your career is over and done with before I label you this or that. That's how I feel. I don't like to put somebody in a slot until the dust.
Yeah, John. He's from Saint Croix,
which is a French name, but it's the Virgin Islands.
Unless you
right.
are Tom Brady, then then it's easy, because I mean, you won 7 freaking Super Bowls. Like, it's not hard to argue that. But unless you're somebody like that, I mean, I like to wait until the dust settles before I make.
No, and that's fine. Listen, as we know, Jokic, like I said, back-to-back MVPs in 2020 and 2021. Becoming the first guy to do it since Shaq. He performs at a high level. He's been a multiple all-star. Again, I know it's subjective.
Yeah, of course.
But it's one of those things where if you ask me, is he the best European player in ever? I would say, yeah, he won this one. And I will agree with Mike. For me, I'll say the jury's still out. But his resume is putting him in the conversation of where you have to now consider him to be. We always talk about the top big men in the league. We do talk about Joker, and we talk about Giannis, and we talk about Embiid. I selfishly talk about Embiid. But, I think now with winning this championship, what's the one thing we always talk about? We talk about the expectation. Are we now going to just automatically continually say, oh, well, if Jokic doesn't perform at this level, then he's not the guy that we anticipate him being, Because again, 134 days from today,
right,
the NBA season starts. So let's end with this tonight. So I know we all got to get out of here except for Mike, because he's on the left coast, the west coast. He's going to be up till another couple hours. So John Shear, I want to ask you this question, sir. And I need you to be as unbiased as possible, or I need you to be the complete fan. Don't be in between. I need one or the other with regard to Miami. So either give me the true biased Miami Heat fan that I know you to be, or be the unbiased journalist that I know and love and respect. I need one or the other. Don't be Mike Caratino right now.
Oh, man.
Okay? John Shear. If Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley, and the Miami Heat are able to bring back this young core, Jimmy and Bam, and get you a 5 that you want, are the Miami Heat coming back to the NBA Finals next year?
Yes. I think they're coming back regardless. When it comes to winning it, if they stay healthy and they are able to add another piece like a 5, so Bam can slide to the 4, then I think they're definitely winning it. But they're getting back to the NBA Finals either way. We've seen 2 in the past couple years. We saw, that last year, Game 7, where, we were that close from the Heat making it back to the NBA Finals. So they just keep defying all odds in the Eastern Conference. Doesn't matter if you put them up against Sixers. Doesn't matter Bucks. Doesn't matter Boston. Doesn't matter. Like, they've beaten everybody you could think of in the East. So, and the Celtics, we don't even know if the Celtics are going to look the same. They probably won't. Brown's probably going. So, really, you only got the Bucks to worry about in the East for us. So.
Okay. So then I'm going to turn it over to Mike, who's on the left coast, the west coast, Forks Up, ASU, Mike Caratino. Same question, but flip it to Denver. If Denver is able to keep their core nucleus and the players that they have, like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a Michael Porter Jr., of course, now you've got the Finals MVP in Jokic, and you've also got Jamal Murray, and you've got Aaron Gordon. If they are able to keep this team together, are the Denver Nuggets going back to the NBA Finals?
Well, yeah, because I'm gonna follow our guy, sports reporter without page advice, Ray Lynn. Because what did I say? What did I say the second half of the season when the dialogue started to float, Eric, that Denver's not a legit number one. Be scared of the Lakers and the Clippers if they get healthy. And yes, the Suns were playing well and they were up there. And okay, Memphis is young, and we all know what Sacramento was. But is Denver a legit number one? We have it on tape, Eric. I've been saying since January, they're a legit. Okay, let's just say February 1st. Fine, February. I've been saying they were legit number one since then. Any disagreement? I've been saying they were legit number one in the West since then. So, yes, you have Joker. Dude's not going to forget how to play hoops. You have Jamal Murray locked up. Michael Porter Jr., I think that's going to be the interesting one because they were talking about that in the broadcast from the first half to the second half is about his contract and the money. So, if depending on, what he thinks he can get on the free market, look, he had a good season. He had a very solid season. He actually, knock on wood for him, stayed healthy the second half. We saw what he could do within this offense. But, yeah, I mean, they are legit number one, and I'm not going to disrespect them because if it was, we all know, and again, it's not picking on Ray or it's not picking on Ty and any Lakers fans, but if it was the Lakers, because LeBron James, or like John said, if he was in Cleveland, we'd be saying, yeah, they're going to be back. Well, Joker's pretty much averaging a triple-double. Dude put up a 30-point triple-double, showing how unselfish he is when his teammate puts up another 30-point triple-double 2 games ago. I mean, it's freaking insane. So, yeah, they're a legit number one. They are the favorites. Yes, like you say, I'm taking your train of thought, Eric. Throw we got to, the draft and what happens in the offseason moves aside. But right at this very second, to your question, that core is there. And I said it to you last week, and I'll say it again. Aaron Gordon did play like this in Orlando. I kind of misquoted. I said you would have liked Aaron Gordon if he played like that. Aaron Gordon was playing like that. But now we see what Aaron Gordon can do defensively when he has this stuff around him and what he can do on the offensive end. Because to John's point, he's going down low and banging around with a little bit of a bigger Bam. He has no problem going down low there. So you keep that nucleus together. Yeah, Denver is the team to beat. Congratulations, everybody. You get to chase them because I don't think Joker's going to forget how to pass the ball. And I don't think he's going to forget how to just use his dad moves that nobody can seem to solve, as we all say, playing dad basketball, old man dad basketball, but yet he's getting a triple-double off it. So they are legit. And again, it's not overreaction just because they won a title, but all year long it was like, well, Denver, and again, it was a dialogue. I get it. Is it a question to be asked? Sure. Did I think it was fair if you watch any of the games? No, not fair. Just like to John's point, like Miami, when they went through a little bit of rough patch, they got injured. But once after they won, I mean, when they lost the first playing game, I literally thought they were in trouble, even though John and I both agreed they were going to win that first game, and our play-in picks sucked because Eric, you were jet setting then, and John and I's picks were absolute trash. But to wrap it back up to Denver, yeah, absolutely. And I think this core stays. Michael Porter Jr., all I'm going to say is, do I think he's talented? Obviously, he's in the NBA. We know he can do it, but grass ain't always greener, man. You ain't playing with an assist guy like Jokic that literally wants to pass the ball first. I mean, literally wants to pass the ball first and does. So they get off. They have that back in Aaron Gordon. And like, John saying with Miami, you got to fill in the bench, Eric. Good luck in the West.
The only free agent that they have, and because Mike was talking about their free agents, the only free agent that they have that actually matters is Bruce Brown. Everybody else is just no names, really. All their guys are locked up. Every single one of their stars are locked up. So
I thought Michael Porter Jr. was a unrestricted free agent.
The only one that is going to be a free agent is Brown. Everybody else is
okay.
Good.
Oh,
yeah.
So then let me end it with this, and we're going to say goodnight. But let me end it with this. Roughly about 4 years ago, I will say maybe even 5 years ago, a wise man told me about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope when he played for the Los Angeles Lakers. And that name has stuck with me. So I want to take a moment and say 2 guys that I have had the privilege of covering when they were with the Orlando Magic and the Los Angeles Lakers, one being Aaron Gordon, the other being Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Congratulations to both of you for winning the NBA championship. That man who told me about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, yeah, y'all know him as our brother. Rest in peace, Mr. Alex Fleming, because he knew the uncut gems when he saw them. He knew the leaders when they were amongst the men. So I want to take that moment because even in the afterlife, the brother is still finding ways to not only school me, but remind me who the hell he was. For John Shear, Mike Caratenuto, sports reporter without pay, Ray Lynn, and everybody else at the Sports Radio, man, Eric Wilson.
Can I add something, Eric?
Sure.
In 90 days, we back up, baby. 90 days, we're back up. Woo! We're back. It's Miami Dolphins season. We're back. 90 days. You got to deal with us. You're going to hear this the rest of the way.
I can't wait till that Dolphin gets stolen and Ace Ventura can't find him.
Go,
John.
Right,
please, John, please do not make me do the unthinkable, John Shear, because you do realize that Miami plays Dallas this year. John Shear, I am in your corner. Do not make me do the unthinkable. And
you've known me 16 years, and you're in his corner, man. That is selfish, and that is unfair, and we are going to that game. We are going to that game. Yeah, John.
Yes, John.
We're going to that game. Get permission now because we're going to that game because I want drinks from John after the game when the Cowboys smack him.
Listen, you both can fly down to my house. I will chauffeur the 3 of us down to that game. But yeah, we are going to that game. So we got to figure that out. But for all of us at the Sports Arena, part of the No Filter Network, we love y'all. Thank you so much. We will see y'all next week. Everyone have a blessed night. Peace.